I'll start the meeting. A very good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and the beautiful guests, and most importantly, the most beautiful educational speakers of today's meeting. So here I welcome you all to the 115th session of the Toastmasters Club. Well, when everyone is preparing for the contest, well, this is time to learn some tricks about how to crack easy. Yes, I hope everyone is interested really for that. So before that, I just want every one of you to please turn on your cameras so that we can have a beautiful session and we can also witness your beautiful smile. Yes, I hope everyone will be switching on it. Yes. So the agenda for the session will be, so firstly we'll be starting off with the education session of Humorous and then followed by the evaluation. So for conducting the Humorous educational session, we have a Toastmaster, Toastmaster Perlin Funny Selvam. Well, she's one of the very known Toastmasters of me. Whenever I ask her for help, she's always there to help. Well, thank you for that in person. And so she's the current president of Towering Speakers, and she's a storyteller for kids, and also she's D20 humorous speech runner-up. Yes, we have a champion here to give an education session. I welcome you to the session, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Bharat Nandagopal. It's so good to be a part of the Velu Toastmasters Club on a Sunday evening. I guess you all would have had your lunches by now. Have you all had your lunches? Everyone's had lunch? Good, good, good. Okay, so that means that, oh, now you come to the snacks room, which means that you all are actually ready to go fall asleep. Such a bad time to have an educational session, but let's try and keep this as interactive and interesting as possible. My name is Perlin and I am from Towering Speakers, and I consider it a joy and a privilege for me to conduct an education session which will prepare you for your upcoming humorous speech contest. And I would like to acknowledge the presence of Area Director, Toastmaster Abhilash Suresh, also a very good friend, my co-host at the awards night for the District 120's first ever offline show. And what to say? I say a very warm thank you to Toastmaster Bharat for letting me be a part of your meeting. And hello to Santosh Kumar, to Kriti, to Shrutika, and to Sifo, also a friend from Delhi. So, what makes you laugh? Please, let's just keep this interactive. We will just 6 or 8 of us. So please feel free to. Okay, it says my internet connection is unstable like me. Okay, I am going to share my screen. But let's just try to keep this as interactive as possible. What makes you laugh? Some answers, please. Some suggestions or opinions or what makes you laugh?
Yeah, when something happens unexpectedly in a fun way.
Yeah, when something is not expected and it's funny, that makes you laugh. Yes.
Joke and then giving some joy while having that session.
Yes, yes. There's some joy when sessions happen. So yes, that makes you laugh. So when asked whether they would like to be funnier, is someone saying something? Right? Was someone saying something?
Yeah, sometimes seeing people's action, we get laugh.
Okay,
Like,
so some people, yes, so sometimes people's actions make us laugh. Right, right,
Fridays.
right. Fridays, yes, 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 you are my man. Yes, Fridays make us laugh and be happy. When asked whether they would like to be funnier, most people say that yes, they would like to be funnier. And everybody loves a good joke. Who doesn't like jokes? Being humorous helps us in every walk of our life. And having a sense of humor is also a part of the art of leadership or getting along with people or getting things done. People who use humor, especially during stressful times or when one-down positions, are viewed as being on top of things. What makes you laugh? What makes you laugh? Many times we may find, like you all said, doing funny things, or if we see someone who falls down. Have you all seen those videos on YouTube? Babies falling down or animals falling down, pandas falling down. Have you all seen those videos? Yeah. Many times we find laughs in things that may actually hurt people. Together, isn't that a contradictory phenomenon? Right? There are many things that make us laugh. And to begin with, how do you put down a humorous script, especially when it comes to context? And we Toastmasters, we are very serious about scripts. We have to prepare for contests, for any script for that matter. But how do you infuse humor into? Here are the tips and tricks that may help you to prepare for your humorous contest. The first one, observe what happens around you. I, for one, have something called as the funny story file. So when I find something funny on the road, on the TV, or at home, or at the office, I try to note it down in a small paper or something and I file it away. Or I record it on my phone. I have this recording app, so I record it on my phone and put it as a funny story file. Where do you guys find humor? Where can we find humor? Where can we find humor? Hello?
In our everyday
Where can we
life,
find humor? In our
everywhere,
everyday
wherever
life,
there are
yes.
people, we can find humor.
That's right. That's right. Wherever people are, there is humor. We find it
Yes.
at home. Most of humor happens at home. And most
Yes.
savage replies comes from our mothers. Do you all agree? Yeah. So there was this time when my sister and I, we were so desperately wanting to have a puppy. We wanted to have a dog at home. We both are dog lovers, so we love dogs. So we wanted to bring in a puppy, apparently from the roadside. We had been itching a mom to like let us bring the puppy in home so that we can feed the puppy, play with it, and all that. So my mom said something very, very simple, and it has stuck with me. She said, I hope most of you understand Tamil since we are in Tamil Nadu. She said, வீட்ல இருக்க ரெண்டு நாயுமே பார்க்க முடியல இல்ல இன்னொரு நாய் வேறையா. Most of the savage replies come from our mothers. We find humor at home. We find humor in the road. We find humor in the traffic, at work. Many a times, what comes as a difficulty actually turns into a blessing, and that becomes a humor in itself. When people tease you, mock you, ask you difficult questions, those moments can be your golden moments of turning that into a humor. In times when people expect us to lose our cool, we can actually turn things around by being funny about it. Self-deprecation. Observe what happens around you, jot it down, either record it or write it in a diary or something. Make a funny story file, which can always help you to go back and get a reference from. The second thing is to have a structure for your humor. Every script, like in any other Toastmasters speeches, we have a beginning, an introduction, the body, the text, and the conclusion. In humor, you need to know where to put what. Or you can order it chronologically. If you are narrating a humorous incident, there is always one incident that will come before another. So if you can chronologically arrange your script, you'll be able to easily identify where humor had come in that incident and where you want to intentionally add humor. Make a structure of the humor that you want to present the crowd. The third trick is the titling. Some people like me will always have trouble with titling. And this I learned from the District 120's this year's champion, humorous speech contest champion, Toastmaster Satya Jayaraman. He said this. There was in 2016, the World Public Speaking Champions speech title was 57 words. His name is Toastmaster Aaron Beverly. You can go to YouTube, Google for YouTube for Aaron Beverly, 2016 World Public Speaking Champion. His title, his speech title was 57 words. It was not a title, it was a paragraph itself. So by the time the Toastmaster of the day or the contest master introduces the title and adds the name. For example, the title is I Am Who I Am, Toastmaster Bharat. Toastmaster Bharat, I Am Who I Am. If that is the title, imagine if your title was 57 words long. The title is so important. Your speech begins with your title. And you can also emphasize the title in the speech itself. Either you can repeat it, or you can make a connection towards it, or at the end, finish it as a punchline. Be very careful about your titling. If you have trouble titling, try to jot out your just everything, put down everything, and then look for words for, say, what do you call it, keywords or tags, as they call in digital media, tags in your script with which you can bring out a title. But also, when you give a title to a speech, you will also have given yourself a box inside which you have to stick your speech and the content to. Otherwise, there are chances that we may go out of the boundary and try to talk content which is not so there are pros and cons to it, but any race, you all might have seen Olympics or in school seen running races, the first 30 seconds of your presentation can determine the rest of the duration as easily as the sprinter's time off the block. The first 30 seconds will set the tone for the rest of your talk. So rehearse these first 30 seconds. We may even try asking questions to engage the audience to make the speech interactive. But be sure that these 30 seconds, these 30 to 45 seconds are your hook and beat moments. So you catch the audience attention in the first 30 to 45 seconds, you will have them glued for the rest of your 7 minutes speech. Set your start. So shall we recap to the first one? What was the first one? Hello? The first trick was to observe. The second trick was to okay, you all did not think that I will ask you questions, right? The second trick was to structure your speech.
Structure.
Yes. The third trick is the
Title.
Exactly. Your title is your hook. The fourth trick is to set a proper
Start.
jump start. The fifth trick is to make your content relatable. For instance, how many of you know Vadivelu? Show of hands. How many of you know Vadivelu? Okay, great. Okay, how many of you know this Hindi actor called Govinda? How many? How many? There are like what, 8 people here. How many know Govinda here? Only Sifu knows Govinda because she's in Delhi. Right? If I come to a Tamil Nadu club, say to VTC, to Velo Toastmasters Club, and I talk about Govinda, or I crack a joke that Govinda did, would any of you understand?
No.
No. But if I come and tell you, you would that, why me? You all know who said that. But Sifo is still blinking because she doesn't know who said that. Correct, Sifo? Vadivelu says that in one of his comedies. Right? So, make your content relatable to people. Keeping it contextual is very important. So, you cannot talk program coding language to someone like me. Correct? And you cannot go talk about share market to a person from a different field or a profession, right? Try to keep your content relatable, as relatable as possible. But you may also want to determine what kind of audience is being present there for you. So if it is a club contest, you can contextualize it with local language. You can bring in little variety from your local, say if it's Tamil, you can bring in talk about different jokes. You can talk proverbs. In one of my speeches, I said, even in my district speech, district panel, there was this proverb used, which said, "Vaazhaikku kannu adiyila." Vaazhaikku kannu adiyila. Do you know what that means? It means that what you do will come back to you. It means what you do. See, a banana tree when it grows, it doesn't die. It lets a shoot out. Taniya or kannu varum. Adu vandata appuram that tree will die off. It means that it just that a tree, vaazha maram will just not die off. Vaazhaikku kannu adiyila. So try to contextually speak and keep it relatable, as relatable as possible. That is the fifth trick. Is the timing. Again, Vadivel Lama, we cannot proceed at all with this. His timing has always been impeccable timing. And the timing of the joke is what matters. So when you script your speech, know where to place what. Many times, you do not have to be Mr. Funny Man. But if you're able to crack a joke at the right time, it's like a superpower. Watch for the right time to drop your hit. Your timing is everything when you're doing a humorous contest. Try practicing it so that it will become very easier for you. So that is the sixth trick. Time your humor. Time your humor. The time given to us for a speech is about 7 minutes. 7 to 7 minutes, 30 seconds. But I would suggest keep it to 7 minutes. 30 seconds is your grace time, because sometimes when we ask questions, when we try to get interactive or use props, there will be some 5-second pause, 10-second pause. So that 30 seconds you can keep for that pauses and audience responses. So 7 minutes is good for your speeches. So in that 7-minute speech, know where to time your humor with. So timing is very crucial in humorous speech. The next trick is body language. Use your hands. Use your hands. Try to use your body as much as possible. I'm not, yes, that's right, Abhi, that's right. Do the magic, that's right. I'm not standing right now, but every single one of my speeches have been a standing speech. I do not ever sit down. Even my educators are usually standing, but I'm not comfortable in this area because it's not my house. We're a different place altogether. So I'm just sitting in a place and giving. Try to use your body language. And with the body language, use your voice modulation. Modulate your voices. The expressions, the gestures are very important in humorous. So when you talk about something funny, you can go cry. Or when you're angry, you can show it in your voice. Use your voice. Use your voice. Use your hands. Okay, and try to change your facial gestures. It will always work, not just for humorous speech, but for any speech for that matter. And let me see how many of you know this guy. How many of you know this guy? Do you know who this is? Anyone? 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 Okay. This guy? What was that? Sorry? Santosh, you were saying something?
Yeah. It's like a sad phase, which I'm getting.
Okay. Do you know who that guy is?
I think it's the Marvel one kind of person.
Okay. Okay, no, this guy.
The first one is the Grinch who stole the Christmas, and the second is the
That's right.
Riddler, the very
That's right.
famous villain of super villain of Batman, and the
That's
third I
right.
have no clue.
Is my internet bad? Did my line get struck? Okay.
Yes, Berlin, your line gets stuck.
I'm very sorry. The internet isn't great here. Is it better now? Are you all able to hear me
Yes,
now?
yes, yes. It's
Okay.
now.
Do you know what this guy is? Great. Do you know who this guy is? Okay. Let's go to the next one. This guy. This guy. Okay. What if I tell you this? That all these 6 characters are played by the same guy, same hero, Jim Carrey. Have you heard of him, Jim Carrey? The first role is called as the Grinch who stole the Christmas. I think that was a Shrutika or Shruti who said the answer. The first one is the Grinch. The second one is the Riddler, who is Batman's villain. And the third one is Count Olaf. And the fourth one is the mask. I don't know how many of you remember. So this guy puts on the mask and he becomes a green-faced funny fellow. Yeah. And the fourth one is Ace Ventura. That was one of his super hit movies, Ace Ventura. He can talk to animals on the Mario movie. And then the last one is Dr. Robotnik. And this is the recent movie, 2020 and 2022. He's going to play. He played the role of Dr. Robotnik. He's the villain of this cartoon character called Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
And this year, and he says that 2002, he's going to retire. This guy, Jim Carrey, he was one of Hollywood's highest paid actor at one point. He bet Tom Cruise, highest paid actor left. He was the top in Hollywood. He bet Tom Cruise and Stallone and everyone he bet. You know how? Because of his body language. And I have been super inspired by Jim Carrey, although I cannot do what he does, but he is something else. He is something else. Jim Carrey. Go Google for him. Go Google about him. Try to watch his videos. His body language, his actions are impressive, very impressive. So use your
Body language.
use your body language. Try to intonate your voice. Try to modulate your voice. You can try recording yourself. Try recording, either voice recording or audio recording will help you to see how better you can do each time. Okay. And the eighth thing is remember not to run the clock. Okay. Practice the timing and aim never to go over the allocated time limit. If there isn't a set time limit, go by which time you impose one on yourself. But we have a time of 7 minutes. So be sure that you force yourself to back up and strip out any unnecessary words or information and try to be a minimalist. Use the fewest words with the greatest impact. Keep the timing, and again, you can record yourself on video or audio to see if your speech comes within that 7-minute time limit. Okay, so never run the clock. Always try to keep red you must be able to, yellow you must be able to wind up your speech within the next 30 seconds to 1 minute. So never run the clock. Keep that in mind. And the next is to practice the pause. Any speech, anyone, even the world public speaking champion, may miss out on the script. We may forget stuff. Has anyone faced this predicament? Has anyone forgotten the script in between? Anyone? Anyone forgotten? When you're talking, you tend to forget. Has that happened to anyone? Anybody? Nobody? Yeah. What do you do then? You do not
Usually,
stand. Yeah. You just stand there like remember, do not ever stand there and give them a blank stare. Okay, do not do that. When that happens, pause intentionally. Give intentional pauses for about 2 to 3 seconds and try to recollect. And recollection, how it should happen now. Make sure that before the speech, there is a gist, like I said, chronologically arrange your speech. If you arrange it chronologically, you will know where to do what, where what should have come. For instance, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, then you take bath, then you go to school or office. Okay, so this the chronology is get up in the morning, brushing the teeth, taking bath, going to school or work. Is this the order? Will this order get missed anywhere?
No.
Will you wake up in your office and then brush your teeth?
No.
No. You will only first get up, brush your teeth, and then take bath. Correct? This is a simple chronology. If you are able to chronologically arrange your script, it will help you to remember better. And if at all you forget, you get up and brush your teeth, you take bath, and you pause here and you do not know whether you're going to eat breakfast, change your clothes, or go to office. Pause a second and then recollect. You know, after brushing the teeth, taking bath, you'll change your clothes and go to office. So chronologically arranging script will help you. And if you forget, don't give a blank stare. It will happen to anybody. It will happen to the best of us. It has happened to the best of us. But pause. Practice the pause intentionally. And even if you do not forget, you have everything in order, give a 2-second pause for people to take in what you're saying. So pausing is just like a speed breaker. Okay, you hit the bump slowly and then pick up speed. Practice the pause intentionally. The last and the final trick that I would like to offer is, like Sankalam said, practice, make a man perfect. Practice, 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 practice. Keep practicing. Video record yourself, audio record yourself, and like in one movie, the Shiva fellow does, he will go and repeat this poem to this babe, to the he'll go and say, Selvi, move it night, Selvi, Nanu, move it night. He'll keep practicing that one four-line poem to whatever, to any Tom, Dick, and Harry, even to the dog, he will be saying that poem. Practice, practice, practice. It will really help. Practice in front of the mirror, practice in the bathroom, practice with your mom, practice with your child, practice with your friend and colleague until they say, practice. Keep practicing, it will definitely take you place. And who can be funny? Who can be funny? I mean, is it, you think you have to practice? Anyone, absolutely anyone can be funny. Anyone can be funny. In Tamil, they say, Sittaramum kai pazhakam senthamizhum now pazhakam, which means that you have to keep practicing to get better at it. Humor is a skill that can be cultivated. Humor can be practiced. And it is not like you have to be born with it to do anything, to give a humorous speech or make fun. Okay? Practice, practice, practice. Now let us recap. What was the first tip?
Observe.
Observe. The second tip was to have
Structure.
a structure. The third one was to
Title.
brilliant. The fourth one?
Fourth one's set the goal. Set the start.
Set the start.
Set the start. Set the start. Your start is very important. The fifth one?
And
Forgot. Kritika?
be relatable.
Be relatable. That's right. Be relatable to people. Contextualize. The sixth one?
Timing. We have
Timing
to be
is
set 7 minutes.
Yes, yes. Timing is know where to drop your humor.
Okay.
Know where to drop your humor. The seventh one is
Body language.
body language. The eighth one is
Eighth one, never run the
Keep your-
clock.
Never run the clock. The ninth one is,
Practice.
okay. Ninth one practice. Up. 10th one is
Practice to the pause.
practice the pause. And the 10th one,
10th one is practice.
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 I hope these 10 tips will help you to better your humorous speech and that we will have champions from Velo Toastmasters. Any questions at all? Any questions at all? No questions. Now I have done a brilliant job. I know. Abhilash, it's 2 questions.
Two sides of the coin. No questions.
yeah.
You could have done a brilliant job.
At least one person has written what I've said though.
Yeah. Hits there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions at all? Or any suggestions? No? Good. And thank you for keeping your video on. Sifu, you want to say something?
Yeah, I said the presentation was really good. I'm sorry I'm unable to start my video, but it was really informative. I've never attended any session like this about humor. So yeah, this is really informative. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Sifu. Thank you for joining.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. So, but if you do have any questions, you can always text me on WhatsApp. Bharat has my number and I'll be happy to help you as long as you are not having a face-off with me in the division or the district. In a division, you're in a different division. The division, what FIH? What is your division? B,
Next B.
B for boy.
Division D.
Division C. Okay. If at all anyone comes from Velo Toastmasters, you might have a face-off.
Yes.
Abhilash! Abhilash cannot participate. He's the area director.
Yes. So
All right then. Yeah, I think Bharat, my job is done. So
Yes.
thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you so much. Screen is all yours.
yes, yes. Thank you, Toastmaster Pauline, for giving us some of the beautiful tips on how to make a humorous speech. And now we got a good confidence on how to win the contest. Thank you for that. Yes. And now I would like to call the second important person of the meeting. Well, you all know who is that. Toastmaster Abhilash. So he's the current area director for C1, and he's also the past mentor pool chair for Division C, and he's also the past VPM and president for CTM Club, and he's also, yes, the division level runner-up in ISC and the evaluation contest. Yes, we have yet another champion. So here we call Toastmaster Abhilash to give an educational session on evaluation contest. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Bharat, and a very warm good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Special hi to Pearl, of course. So, let us now go into our evaluations. Where do we start? Let us have this also as interactive as possible. So, what do you think is important in evaluation? Anyone? Any ideas?
Observing.
Observing, all right.
Learn something what they present during the evaluation.
Learn something. Okay, great. All right. Observe, learn. Yes, definitely. These are all critical words as far as evaluation is concerned, right? But where do we start when we do an evaluation? Let me give you some very simple tips and techniques so that our job as an evaluator is 3. 1, the speaker should be satisfied. 2, the audience should be satisfied. And 3, as an evaluator, we should be satisfied that our evaluation was effective. So let me start over and give you some simple tips and techniques on how we're going to proceed with evaluations. All of us have attended club meetings, right? How many of us look at the agenda before we actually go into our club meeting? Right. And what does the agenda contain?
essay.
Agenda contains the
Essay, open
what other
session.
contest which will be available, the timing and the session, what we have to go with.
Timing, session, essay, opening. In the prepared speech section, there will be one specific thing which the agenda contains, right? What is it?
The speech title, the project.
Perfect. Two things, the speech title and the project. First thing is, when do you start an evaluation? Before the meeting, go through the agenda, familiarize yourself with the speaker's title, because this is one thing which is a very important starting point for any evaluation. The title is going to set the expectations for the speech. So ensure that you know the title of the speech. And when you come to contests, be very careful. The title is going to be said exactly once when the test speaker is introduced. Ensure you note down the title, because this title is going to set all future expectations, which I'll be dealing with on how it exactly sets a little later. So now we have a good starting point, the title of the speech and the speech objectives, which will be mentioned. So these two are going to be the starting points of any good evaluation. Now let us move on to the second point, right? What is it? Bharat role, right? Listening and observing critically. A speaker, when he comes in bubbling with enthusiasm. How many of you now remember how Toastmaster Perlin started her session? Anyone?
With a warm welcome and then a smiling face.
Warm welcome, smiling face. She appeared very confident, right?
Right.
So the opening, as they say, right, the first impression is always the best impression. So when you observe critically, be free in your mind. Whenever the speaker opens his speech, jot down what is the first thing that comes to your mind. You might feel the speaker is nervous, note it down, nervous. You might feel the speaker is confident, note it down, confident. You might feel the speaker. How many of us have had speakers start off with rhetorical questions? How many of you have done this today? How many of you have done this in the past, right? That is a very important type of opening. So if you feel that they've used that, jot it down, unique, because the first impression for you as an evaluator is going to set the expectation throughout the speech. So note down how you felt the opening was and have a free mind here. Don't be judgmental, have a free mind. If you felt, yes, the speaker was good, yes, good opening. It was unique, it was confident, it was bubbling with enthusiasm. Go ahead and jot it. The second most important thing that I would like to take you through, assess the speech structure. Toastmasters places a lot of importance on speech structure, and not without good reason. Ensure that the speech has a good opening, a good body, and a good conclusion. How are you going to evaluate these? Let me come a little later. But for now, ensure that these three elements are present in the speech: opening, body, and conclusion. The next most important thing, I think I'm going to borrow this from Toastmaster Perlin, right? How was she when she used Vadivelu's name? Guys, she was all laughing and happy, and there was a sense of warmth, right? At the same time, when we were summarizing the 10 tips that she told us for the humorous session, how was her body language? ஞாபகம் இருக்கா, நம்ம நடுவுல எதுவுமே சொல்லாம இருந்தோம் சைலண்டா. அப்போ how was she? She turned a little serious right at that time. So these are things you need to definitely observe. Body language, appropriateness, wherever it is funny, observe whether it is funny. Where it is serious, observe those things. So this is the most important thing, body language. Observe body language, jot down where you felt the speaker was funny, serious, sad, questioning. So many things are there. Again, this I'll put it in a little detail a little later. I'm just giving you a broad overview. The next thing, vocal variety. Vocal variety na enna? Very easy, right? When I'm illustrating that there is a fight going on between me and someone, I'm going to be loud and boisterous. This is how it was. This is how it was. But when I'm going to describe something like a person sleeping, dreams, such happiness, my voice is going to go down. Right? My voice will go down to depict how that incident was. So this is what is going to be under vocal variety. And final thing that I'm going to deal with today is conclusion. How effective is your conclusion? Is your conclusion strong? How to evaluate if it is strong? Now let us move quickly into the main session. All right. The first thing that I'm going to deliver to you today is how you're going to deliver an evaluation. How many minutes do we have to deliver an evaluation? Guys, how many minutes do we have to deliver an evaluation?
Maximum 5 minutes.
Yes, 2 to 3 minutes.
No.
2 to
Yeah,
3
2 to 3
minutes.
minutes. 3 minutes is all you get. You're going to evaluate a 7-minute speech, and a 3-minute 3-minute evaluation slot is what you're going to get, which means you need to be effective in this 3 minutes, right? So let me just give you an idea of how we are going to proceed with this evaluation. You need to be effective. You need to cover everything. So say the speaker has spoken and you have noted down around 5 recommendations, 5 commendations. Can you fit in everything within a 3-minute slot? No, you cannot, right? So that is where my first lesson is. How do you prioritize your feedback? So I have 5 recommendations. I have 6 recommendations that I've noted down in your speech, right? How am I going to say which recommendation I'm going to actually tell in my evaluation? I suggest you use the first thing as the speech objective. Whatever is the speech objective, if you have a recommendation that says that the speech objective could have been met better, that should always be your first recommendation to go with. Got it? So ensure that you relate the speech with the speech objective. That will be your recommendation. The second thing is, whenever you give any feedback recommendation, ensure that it is going to apply to all speeches, all future speeches. Let me give you an example. Say, I'm talking about my grandmother, right? Or Perlin was talking about Vadivelu here, right? Let me say I'm going to give her a recommendation. Perhaps if you had showed me Vadivelu's picture, I could have better connected to his jokes. Perhaps if you had showed me Vadivelu's picture and facial expressions, that would have made me better connected to what you were actually telling me about Vadivelu. How effective is this particular recommendation? Right? See, it is highly unlikely that Toastmaster Perlin will use Vadivelu for future speeches. Right? So this is a very specific recommendation which will not be of much use to anyone. And see, you might not be familiar with Vadivelu, but the rest of the audience might definitely be familiar enough with Vadivelu to relate, right? So that is where the thing is, ensure that your recommendations can be applied across to all speeches. So instead of taking Vadivelu's name, let us position it like this. Perhaps you could have shown a visual aid of the character so that we could better connect with that character. Now, when I'm stating this particular statement, today she's used Vadivelu. Tomorrow, she might use some of her family members, or she might use friends, or anyone she might use. But this recommendation will hold good because what I'm telling, show us a picture of the character. I am not singling out Vadivelu or singling out any one thing. So ensure that such recommendations could be used across all speeches. So these are the 2 things that I wanted to tell as far as your feedback prioritizing goes, okay? In speech objectives, then what are the recommendations that could be prioritized for all speeches? The third thing is, we'll come to elements of body language. So these are the 3 things you should keep in mind while you write down your recommendations. Now, before I'm going to go to commendations and recommendations, one thing that I would like to really tell you is, how are you going to structure your evaluation? We discussed 3 minutes to make an impact. Just 3 minutes is all you have got, right? So when you start off with an opening, if I'm going to go directly into commendations and recommendations, how many of us do you think are actually going to listen and be interested, right? Half of us would have forgotten the test speaker speech by the time the 4th or 5th evaluator comes in. So what the first important thing for any evaluation that you're going to do is start off with an opening, mention the speaker's name, and give a brief of what the speaker tried to achieve in his speech. In the first 30 seconds of your evaluation, ensure that you give a brief outline of what the speaker tried to achieve. Then move on to give commendations. Take around 1 minute for these commendations. Then at a minute and a half, ensure that you start your recommendations. And by the time the yellow light, which denotes 2 minutes and 30 seconds comes, ensure you're almost there you're almost there near the end of your recommendations. And finally, again, give one small commendation that you felt the speaker did well. And finally, in the last 15 seconds, when the red light is shown, ensure you reach the end of your evaluation, which is the summary. This is an ideal structure to ensure that your evaluation is effective and prioritized. This is when you'll be able to make the maximum impact. I repeat, start off with an opening for 30 seconds, give some commendations for 1 minute, and then give 2 or 3 recommendations, then one small commendation again, and finally conclude with a summary. This is called the sandwich technique. Commendation, recommendation, and commendation. The commendations are the bread part, while the recommendation is the stuffing, which is actually the tasty one, which is going to help the speaker. The top commendations are just for beautification. I'm saying beautification here. Let me tell you why when I go to the final aspect today. Okay. Now, let us move on and let us give some depth. So we have discussed about how to give commendations, how to give recommendations, right? How are our recommendations going to be effective, and how are our recommendations going to be effective? So let me take one small example. So Bharat is here, right? So let me take Bharat's name here. So Bharat, in your speech, I loved the vocal variety you had. But perhaps had you moved around the stage and given a better gestures, better hand gestures, your speech would have been more effective. Do you feel this is a good evaluation?
Yes.
Why?
So as you said, it will be more clear to the audience on what we are narrating.
Is it clear to the audience? See, I am telling Bharat, you had good vocal variety. Do the audience understand where you had vocal variety? They don't, right? Similarly, when I said you could improve your hand gestures, it was a very general point. Do the audience understand how or where you could have improved your hand gestures? No, right? Which is what brings me to the main mantra when you give commendations and recommendations. The WHW, the what, how, and why. Please remember all your commendations and recommendations. If you have these 3 aspects, it makes a complete and in-depth analysis, the what, how, and why. The first thing, what did the speaker do? That is the first thing that should actually form part of your commendation or recommendation. What did the speaker do, or what he could have done better? So that was addressed in mine when I said he had good vocal variety, but he could have used better hand gestures. So this is the what the speaker did or what he could have done. Most of us are really good with the what part. We are able to identify and we're able to communicate. But beyond the what is where we don't go in, right? The next most important thing is how. Always remember, when you give a commendation or a recommendation, please quote examples from the speaker's speech and then give the how. Remember. So I should say, when he talked about his grandmother, his use of vocal variety was excellent when he told she was such a caring, gentle lady. Always the how part is important because it helps the audience connect with your evaluation and the speaker's speech. Always quote examples from the speaker's speech to drive home your points. And finally, why? Why is it important? See, today, if Bharat had used greater vocal variety, It could have perhaps gotten me a better understanding of how his grandmother was. So always ensure you tell the why part. Bharat, your use of increased vocal variety gave me a good description of your grandmother. That is for the commendation. But when it comes to recommendation, Bharat, you could have used your hand gestures better. Had you used your hand gestures better in this particular portion where you talked about your grandmother, then perhaps I could have connected, I could have felt how your grandmom was. Perhaps that. So always remember what, why, and how. Always cover all these three things whenever you give a set of commendations or recommendations, especially the how part. How is very important because you're going to go beyond the speaker's speech. You're going to suggest how he could have done something better. And that is what adds real value. So what, why, and how are paramount or of paramount importance, right? So in effect, this is all about evaluations. When you give a commendation or recommendation, ensure your what, why, and how is addressed, and also ensure you have a proper structure. Now, whatever we are going to deal with after this are just nuances, techniques to make your evaluation sound better. That is all. Okay. In essence, remember, this is the evaluation structure. Have a good opening, commendations, then move on to recommendations. One commendation again, which is recommended, and a summary. And always when you say your commendations and recommendations, ensure you say what, how, why. So this is all about evaluations. If you remember this, you will definitely be a champion. Now let us move into the finer aspects, nuances of how to observe when we actually do write down the evaluations. So from now on, it's going to be something very simple. Okay. So the first thing is, if I'm going to tell Bharat, your speech was good. What will Bharat do? Bharat, your speech was good. What is your reaction? See, no,
Yeah.
he's first confused actually. Okay, he's telling my speech was good. What do I do? What do I tell? Then an awkward smile. Okay, thank you. Right. How is me telling him his speech is good going to help him? It is not right. So the first nuance is always avoid words like good, excellent, fantastic, boring, all these things. Okay. Be very specific. If you're going to give a commendation, you tell Bharat, the way you dramatized about your grandmother was very good. Then he'll remember that portion of his speech and then, oh yeah, I dramatized well. Thank you. That is where the understanding comes. Always avoid general words. Use specific words that belong to specific speech nuances. All right. So this is one thing which I would like to really emphasize on. Avoid general words. No one likes to start off, Mr. Target Speaker, your speech was excellent. That is my first, if I'm a judge, that is my first off-putting point. What is this excellent? Why excellent? How excellent? Where excellent? Nothing is there. So avoid it. Bharat, the way you dramatized your grandmom's appearance was excellent. And that is where I get satisfaction. I can relate to that speech and I can relate to that particular aspect that Bharat did. In this case, his dramatization. So always ensure you use very specific words when you're going to give your commendations and recommendations. The next thing that I would like to talk on is manner of evaluations. See, for us, the ultimate goal is to ensure the speaker improves, right? So say I have 5-6 recommendations. You're going to come on stage and deliver 5 recommendations, no commendations, and go on. Do you really think your feedback is going to be effective? No, because it's going to be dominating on, it'll be like a fault finding exercise. Remember, feedback is never a fault finding exercise. Ensure that the manner in which you give feedback is gentle, diplomatic, and caring. Always say good points of the speech at the same time when you put in a couple of recommendations. That is when a speaker also appreciates you. Yes, it's an all-round view. He's commented on what I actually did well, and he's also given me improvement points. And that is when the speaker is truly going to take in your recommendations and incorporate it into their next speech. Ensure that your manner is caring and diplomatic. Don't be outright. Don't go and say rude things. For example, if I'm going to sell a recommendation, that's the difference. Your speech was so boring in these parts. Perhaps had you introduced some humor element, it could have been better. Instead of that, go like this. Your speech, while good, was perhaps lacking a few elements of humor. Had humor been incorporated into these aspects, then perhaps your speech would have been better. Always be caring and diplomatic, no outright tones. When you go in for something like you felt that the speaker was monotonous, how are you going to go and say it upright in the recommendations? I felt your tone was monotonous. You could have had greater vocal variety. No, don't do that. Tell why your speech was good. I perhaps felt that at times the tone was constant. Perhaps had you introduced a little bit more variety here by using your ups and downs, the speech would have made for better listening. When you when you're caring and diplomatic, it goes into the speaker's heart directly. So ensure that your manner in which you approach your feedback is always positive. Let us now move on to one of the most important aspects. What are the elements that you can evaluate in a speech? I'm going to cover this a little quickly, but remember, this is going to be the core of your evaluation. We have now covered how to structure our evaluation, how to talk. This part is going to be with your observing the speaker. When you observe a speaker, what are the yardsticks on which you can judge his speech, his or her speech? Okay. I'm going to talk about four major things: voice, body language, speech structure, and content. These are going to be the four measuring criteria based on which you can judge any speaker: voice, body language, speech structure, and speech content, right? The first thing, voice. Voice, pitch, tone, whether the speaker uses up and downs in the voice, or whether so when it's a fight, high pitch, when it's something soothing, low pitch. At the same time, when you have, the volume itself, right? When you're in a happy mode, a boisterous mode, your voice is loud and clear. But at the same time, when your voice is to reflect a somber or sad thing, your voice tone should go down. So look at these two aspects as far as voice is concerned. The third most important thing in voice is pace. Whether the speaker is too fast or too slow or at the correct pace is a very important judgment, and you always look at that. So these are the three things in voice. Then body language. Can I talk with my voice alone? No, right? Obviously not. Body language is something really important. How many of us would have actually listened to Pearl if she had just kept her hands like this or like this and just talked? She used her hands varyingly. So the next most important thing is body language. How you use the stage, the first thing. When you dramatize, go around the stage, talk from here for one character, talk from here for one character. Does the speaker do all those? Check that. The next thing is gestures. Whether your first thing is hands are open gestures or closed gestures. Open gestures tend to be a little more inviting. You can check those. Then whether the speaker use gestures effectively. So check these two things, okay? And the final thing is facial expressions. Whether it's happy, whether it's sad, or whether I'm thinking, or whether I'm bewildered. All these facial expressions add more variety. Evaluate a speaker in terms of all these. Okay. The next thing, most important thing, speech structure. We talked, right? Opening, body, and conclusion. What are you going to actually judge in these three: opening, body, and conclusion, right? Opening. Whether the speaker had a good opening, whether he or she was confident, whether the speaker attracted your attention, whether he was unique, those things. The second thing, when you come to the body, right, this is the bulk of the speech, around 4 to 5 minutes in a 7-minute speech. Body, mainly look for whether the speaker is justifying his opening and transitions. Body is going to consist of many incidents. Ensure transitions are proper for your clarity. And finally, conclusion. Conclusion, check two things, just two things. One, whether it reinforces the speech objectives, which was set out. And the second thing, whether the conclusion was logical. Sometimes we find that it was a good speech, but suddenly the conclusion is very abrupt. It just ends like that without any notice. Ensure these things are not there. Two things in conclusion: reinforce and abrupt endings. So this is as far as your speech structure goes. And finally, when you come to speech content, you cannot evaluate content. First, remember that. As in, you cannot go and tell a person, had you talked about your grandfather instead of your grandmother, your speech would have been better. You cannot evaluate content that way. Remember this. What you're going to evaluate in content is just clarity. Whether the speaker was clear and logical. That is all you measure in content, nothing else. You cannot go out of your way as an evaluator to say to the speaker that you could change your content this way. Do not say that. Just look for clarity and logic in the content, whether the speaker is logical. That is all you can measure in content. And number two, whether the words and sentences used by the speaker are clear. I cannot go in and say a very hi-fi sentence or something. See, a speech should be simple. It should be clear to the audience. Ensure that words are simple. As far as content goes, two things, right? Whether it is logical and whether the words and sentences are simple and effective. This is all you're going to judge with respect to speech content. So this is all that I have to give you in terms of evaluation. The final thing that okay, give me just 1 minute. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I'm just getting a sorry, extremely sorry. So, and now I'm going to talk to you about the most important thing. All your evaluation might be good, but at the end of the day, now this is a contest educational session, right? What is the criteria that we have for judging an evaluation contest? Your sheet is divided into 100 marks. The first thing is your analytical quality, which is the bulk, 40 out of 100. The second thing is with regards to your recommendations, which carry 30 marks. The third thing, technique, which carries 15 marks, and then summary, which carries 15 marks. All of these things I would have already covered in aspects. Let us now just sum them up so that it falls in place. The first thing, analytical quality, 40 marks. When you talk about a commendation or recommendation, remember we told the what, how, and why approach. This ensures that your analysis of a commendation or recommendation is complete. So this is what is going to be marked in your analytical quality. The second thing when it comes to recommendations for 30 marks, again, when you say a recommendation with this what, how, and why thing, it ensures that your recommendation is complete. And this 30 marks is also in your bag. The third thing is technique. Technique, if you remember, I have covered in two aspects. One was the structure of your evaluation. Have a proper opening, give two commendations, 2 or 3 recommendations, 1 commendation, close to something. This is one thing as far as technique goes. And the second thing is how you position yourself, right? You should be carrying gentle, diplomatic, and effective. You cannot be out too brutal or too blunt. That is not going to help you. So this is where your technique 15 marks comes into play. And finally, the summation. Summary is very important. You sum up effectively. Just sum up what are your commendations and recommendations and end with a positive remark. These 15 marks are going to be in your bag. So as far as evaluation judging goes, it's a fairly easy and simple criteria. These are what you look out for. So to sum up my session, ensure that whenever you give a commendation or recommendation, you follow the what, how, and why approach. And then whenever you evaluate a speech, these are some yardsticks using which you can measure any person's speech. Look out for voice. In voice, you look out for tone and pitch, volume, and pace. When you come to body language, it's going to be the stage movement, my gestures, then facial expressions. Evaluate. The third thing is speech structure, opening, body, conclusion. Simple. Evaluate how your opening was effective, body was logical, transitions, conclusion, whether the conclusion was effective to meet the speech objective. And finally, speech content, whether it was logical and whether the words and sentences were simple or effective. If you ensure that you follow these yardsticks and do your evaluation, I feel you definitely have a good chance to crack the evaluation contest. This is something which has worked for me, and I also observe many people, it's worked for them as well. So ensure that you cover these aspects. Happy contesting. I'm sure all of you are going to have a fantastic contest next week. All the best. One thing that I want to say is prepare well, practice. Evaluations come with practice, they take practice. Listen to people, then think what you felt could have been better, what you felt was good. That is how you master the art of evaluation. Practice. That is all from my side. Now over to you, Bharat.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Abhilash, for giving us some of the effective tips on how to give an evaluation. Well, this was really helpful for us to give an effective evaluation in our contest. So I hope it was helpful for everyone too. So at this moment, I would like to specially thank Toastmaster Abhilash for accepting the invitation for taking the educational session. Yes, thank you for that. Yes, we are happy for that. And we learned a lot from you. Thank you, sir. And so I especially thank both of you for connecting this educational session in our club. And I hope you both get in touch with us. Yes.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. And here we end the session.